Hello, welcome to another episode of Mega Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and today we're talking about My Hero Academia, chapter 364. This one's called Why We Wield Power. And, oh boy, a lot of stuff happened in this chapter. A lot of stuff that's causing the internet to not be happy, which is a weird thing. The internet's usually so happy with everything.
It's a positive place.
It's such a positive place. And, this chapter is going to be a lot of controversy in the My Hero Academia fandom, and we're here to talk about it. But I am Jason Hahn. I'm a writer for ScreenRant.com. I happen to write a lot of video game related stuff, but I'm a huge manga fan, so decided to start Mega Manga Mondays. And I got a couple other buddies here to talk My Hero Academia with. And I'll go and let them introduce themselves. Ben, how are you today, man?
I'm doing good. I'm Ben. I'm a comics writer at Screen Rant. Write about DC, Marvel, and a lot of manga. And yeah, I've been a My Hero enjoyer for some time. Like, I wouldn't say it's my favorite series, but I love superhero stories. And I love manga too. So this is combining both. So I'm excited to talk about this chapter because a lot happened, and I think we need to talk about it.
That's probably the number one review that we could give this chapter. Well, a lot happened. Steven, how about you, man?
Yeah, my name is Steven. Write for the comic section of the website, mostly writing about manga and other things like Sonic and all that good stuff. A lot of good Star Trek stuff lately. But yeah, I'm excited about My Hero Academia. It's a fun chapter.
That's not what you told me earlier.
Yeah.
This chapter. I feel like it's been a little bit since we've talked about it, but last we saw All for One. He had gotten blasted by Endeavor pretty good, and then he made some sort of snarky remark, and then we saw Deku about to get attacked by something, and now we get to see this man's beautiful face again. If I remember correctly, the last chapter kind of ended with him regenerating and giving some possible clues that we're terrified that he has already gotten control of Eerie and her power. But I'm glad that we kind of still have this evil scientist in this in this story that just at any point they can go to a flashback and be like, oh, well, actually, I did this thing, so we have this in our back pocket. And that's exactly what happened with All for One. He's reverting back to his prime form, and he looks a lot like the Wizard King, in my opinion, from Black Clover, but with white hair. And probably my favorite bit of this chapter, though, was it's not just like, oh no, I'm 100% at my prime. Now you guys should be scared. But he admits that this was like a ace he was holding because once he uses it, he's going to regress all the way back into pretty much nothingness. Like anybody who unfortunately got like wiped out by Erie's power, that sort of thing. So now we have a ticking clock for our big bad, our very powerful big bad. Oh boy, he's a handsome devil. I just got to say that, guys. I really like his design, especially when he decides to not fight in the nude, but he decides to take down or rush over to somebody with a cape and take their outfit. And Hawks.
Well, not just any somebody.
Oh yeah, who was this? One of the kitty cat
movies? No, it was Aoyama, wasn't it?
No, Aoyama
was it? I could have sworn it was Aoyama. It looked like.
No,
I don't know.
I think Aoyama is like still in the city actually, but no, it looks more like one of the Pussycat dolls actually.
Is it? Oh, I guess I saw like the weird head stuff, and I thought that was Aoyama's like eye things.
Oh man, that would have been great.
Yeah, that's why I thought that was. I thought they were tying that together because Aoyama betrayed All for One, and so then All for One descends on him specifically. But I guess I was wrong.
Oh man, that would have been better. And let's go ahead and add that to the list because we're going to have a whole list of things that could have been better after we finish this discussion.
Yeah.
And you know what? We've gone 5.5 minutes into this podcast, and I can't hold on to it any longer. But Bakugo's getting brought back to life, and
So
Chainsaw Man style.
yeah, but like in a way that I mean, okay, I have major complaints with the way he's getting brought back to life
same.
because like it's one thing to suspend disbelief that like all these high school heroes are going to be major players in the big war arc with all the heroes, right? I can suspend my disbelief that much because like okay, a lot of heroes like retired or like quit after the whole like dark Deku phase where everything was all crazy.
Rise of the villains.
But one thing that I can't suspend my disbelief for is that like a hero is like, okay, this high schooler is more important than a professional hero here. Like, so I need to, bring him back to life at the cost of my own life. That just, if it was portrayed in a different way, I think they could have maybe portrayed it like, I'm
in the future.
Like if it was like Best Jeanist sacrificing himself, I think I would have been more okay with that because Best Jeanist has an emotional connection to Bakugo and could reasonably be like, oh, I can't let this kid die. We've been through so much together. I'm not doing it. But instead, he gets like this random other guy to sacrifice himself, and it's like there's no emotional connection there. The guy's just being like, yeah, I'll give my life for this kid, which is a heroic thing to do, but like
that's what I was going to go into. It's just like I think any like professional hero would gladly like sacrifice themselves to save somebody. So I don't have problem with that, but you're kind of getting into my big problem with it, where just like this could have resonated so much harder if it was like the person that Bakugo actually like interned with and had spent time with, and that was Best Jeanist before Endeavor. But even then, because of a problem that we consistently bring up with this series, is that there's just too many characters and too much going on for them to like really spend the time to build up certain relationships that we feel like they should have built up more. And I think Bakugo and Best Jeanist should have had more time. And then I think Best Jeanist should have been the one to sacrifice himself.
Yeah, like the thing that really rings false to me about it is that like I feel like Best Jeanist wouldn't tell another hero to sacrifice themselves to bring Bakugo back, right? Like that's the thing that gets like it's one thing if that hero was just there fighting with them, sees Bakugo die and is like, oh, I'm going to sacrifice myself. This was more like Best Jeanist called them over and said, save this kid, which.
I'm looking at the official translation because I read the fan sub and then I read the official translation, and I think the official one did a really good job. It actually like made sense of some things. It cleared up All for One speech way better, and I liked it a lot more. But I'm looking at the pages now, and it looks like Edshot just kind of walks over, and Best Jeanist even tells him just like, dude, that there's no coming back for this.
Oh, okay. I guess I just misinterpreted it then because Edshot wasn't like he didn't show up in the fight at all previously. He just was like it feels kind of weird that he just shows up now without being called there, right?
Just the one hero. He was hiding in the shadows. He's a ninja.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Haven't you read Naruto? That's like what ninjas do.
Of course, yeah. I should have thought of that.
Do you even manga, bro?
Nah, you got me. I don't actually read manga. I just talk about it.
I hate it. Yeah, that's actually a thing that's always been a problem with Edshot, and that's kind of another reason why this like moment doesn't hit like nearly as hard as it could, is because anytime that Edshot has been there somewhere, he just kind of zips out of somebody, makes something explode, and then disappears. And he's been in this fight. He just hasn't really done anything because he's just so invisible, I guess is the way we want to say it. But it's I just it could have been so much better. And
Yeah, and like, why was he in that fight to begin with, anyways? Because the fight against Shigaraki was like supposedly everyone had their own role, right? But he was he there to be support for like if someone's heart exploded?
right?
Like, yeah, like why was he there? It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, no, and especially just I definitely am not going to pretend to have a medical degree or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure after the heart's exploded and he's got internal bleeding that's been going on for, even if we were being generous and said this is all happening in the last like 5 seconds, there's, even if you put a fresh new heart in there, it's not like he's going to get back up and be like, oh man, this is weird.
Yeah.
Like it's dumb. I really hate to say it, and because it's such a vague word, but just it's dumb. Like exactly what you're saying earlier. It's like there's only so much things that you can cast away for disbelief, and that this one is definitely jumping the shark. And I mean, we came up with so many other ways like Bakugo could have been resurrected. Like we've definitely established in our previous podcast, we're like we're okay. It would be great if he's dead, but we could totally see him getting revived. It just no one expected the hero that is not anybody's favorite hero that easily could have been forgotten is going to be the one to come in and sacrifice themselves to save Bakugo. It's just
Yeah, and as the person with the most complaints about Bakugo's death, precisely because I felt like there were so many easier ways to have made it more meaningful and resonating. Like, this just falls into the same thing where this whole thing sort of feels not very well thought out and just sort of like, oh, Bakugo's got to die to like be emotional. And now it's like, oh, Bakugo's got to come back, of course, but we can't kill Bakugo. And it's just sort of like, let's just do that then, as opposed to actually thinking it out and being like, what's the best way to do this then?
well, I think at this point the best way for it to move on is to remember that Shigaraki's a gamer and he's a douchebag, so he would absolutely spawn camp them and just like let Bakugo get brought back to life and then just kill him again. like but another thing that really bothered me about Edgeshot, and this is something I didn't realize until I read the official release, was he's like calling out Mirako and saying, don't go quietly. It's like he's saying, Mirako, you're not trying hard enough. Try harder. You're being like squeezed to death by Shigaraki. And I don't know, it's honestly kind of hard to tell what's going on with her right now because the art for any time she's like being held, it's just like it seems like Shigaraki's just like holding on to her and squeezing her. I'm not really sure, but yeah, it's like what do you expect her to do, buddy? Like she's kind of stuck. So I mean that was all the last chunk of the chapter, and it was my least favorite part of the chapter. I'd say I really liked the first two chunks.
I'd agree.
2/3 of it were really good. I'm still actually a little bit confused with the conversation that we're having with the president, and they have like an Admiral Akbar guy.
That was originally like in the fan translation when he first appeared during the Star and Stripe. The actually fan translation had him as Akbar, but then perfect. They got rid of it, which is a shame. It's like, oh, man, let's see if that's his name. Oh wait, no, it's not.
Yeah. Well, they take liberties in the fan translations sometimes.
I had seen a tweet somewhere, and it might have been a headline, and I just kind of thought, I was just like, oh, that could be a joke or real. I'm not sure. I'll find out later. And I think I had saw somebody like was saying that My Hero Academia was going on break for a while because of some sort of Disney copyright. And that must have been a joke for the Akbar thing because Disney owns everything in Star Wars. Yeah, so I mean, this Akbar character is like arguing with the president, and the president is already talking about like world leaders trying to decide how they want to pretty much side with Shigaraki, which is insane.
Well, it's like, well, it kind of just goes back with what Horikoshi was doing earlier with Star and Stripe. Like, Star and Stripe was just like this massive satirical swipe at America. And it's like, this is just kind of like the continuation of that. Like, it's kind of like, wow, it's a lot of low blows here.
I don't think Star and Stripe was a satirical swipe at America. I think the whole, like, you know, president stuff is definitely a swipe at America, but, like, Star and Stripe herself is I think, just sort of like a parallel to Deku in a way.
Oh man, because what I saw, like, well, because like she's, you know, Star and Stripe, and then she has this thing called New, like it sounds like it's like New Order or New World Order, where it's basically she makes the rules, like America changes the rules, and it's like, and it makes it mine. It's like, oh crap, and it was like, well,
I don't see that as
something where like he doesn't care about anyone, like later on they made it better, but she was basically using the guys who were flying her around. It's like, you're going to do this for me because I'm the hero and you're going to have to deal with it. It's like,
no, that's not how I read that at all. I read it as like they're like a fighting squadron. Like she's the head of the.
Well, that's what they did at the end. Like it felt like it got nice at the end, but at the very beginning, she was like just completely like, you guys you're going to have to do what I'm going to do because I'm the hero. And at the end, then they changed it up where, you know, like she sacrifices herself for them. But it's like,
I mean, I don't think that was a change up. I read it from the start. It's just like, that's their squadron.
Yeah, I'm more on Ben there. I can't remember a time where I was like, oh man, Star's being kind of a jerk. But just to think, like, from the writer's perspective, I love your take on it, Steven. It's like we have this the most American character you can think of, and their ability is telling everybody how the way it is, and they have to abide by it.
And also she doesn't follow the rules. Like America's like, it's like they have rules not to go. It's like, nope, I'm doing this. I'm America. See you. It's like,
yeah, but
like it just felt like, wow, man, this is kind of low blows here.
I just didn't read it that way at all. I feel like she herself was not the swiping in America. I think that just the way America is portrayed is the swiping in America, because Star and Stripe is viewed as like like she's doing a good thing. Right? Like, whereas her government wanted her to stay back and not fight, whereas she's trying to help.
I don't know, like, because I feel like that she should have stayed back, because if she didn't come, then he wouldn't have taken her quirk. And
but her quirk like destroyed like half his quirks, right? It was a good thing that I mean, it's sad that she died, but she did a net good, right?
Yeah, I think it'll probably come into play later, whenever we get to whatever the Deku versus whatever the final matchup's going to be. I think that will probably come up later, where just like, oh, I need to use this quirk. What? I don't have this quirk anymore? Oh, she must have taken that one away. Like,
well, I don't think it will. I don't think it'll ever get like explicitly said like that. But it did knock All for One out of commission for like a time, which gave the heroes time to recover and regroup and try.
But now he still has her quirk. Like, he was able to retain it, because like I forgot what he did, but he was able to. Because he put it in another person. I'm trying to remember, like, because he went out and he found this random person and he put the quirk inside of them.
Oh no, but that was because he had to get it out of his body, and then they like died. Like, that person isn't around anymore. That person like died right after receiving her quirk.
Oh, is it?
Oh, I thought that was still like up in the air for mystery, but that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know, because it felt like that they were going to be able to use it at some point later.
No, I didn't. I mean, maybe I'm misremembering, but like, I'm pretty sure, like he was like, you know, that was an unmitigated disaster. Like, we lost it. We didn't get New World Order. We lost a bunch of our quirks. Like, we're much more weakened now than we once were. I think it might either get cleared up more, or
if they do pull it out of their back pocket and they're like, oh no, we still have this ace up our sleeve, then we'll
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, no, I don't think that. I mean, I need to reread the chapter when the Star and Stripe fight originally resolved, but like, I'm pretty sure they killed the guy who received the quirk afterwards.
Yeah,
But
I think you might be right. I don't remember it myself, but I just remember it being something along the lines of like he gave it to somebody and then I just remember it like cutting away and we're like, okay, so I mean, is that guy gonna suddenly be like, oh, I have this all powerful quirk and he's gonna have to figure out something to do with it? I'm not really sure, but one thing I did. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, but I mean, I do think that like the way that the president and the government are portrayed are definitely swipes at America, because like they're generally portrayed as like negatively, right? Like Akbar is portrayed positively and stuff, and Star and Striper is portrayed positively, but like everyone else is sort of like, they're talking about going over to Shigaraki's side. That's a bad thing. And like you look at the street shop that they have, it doesn't look good. So, yeah. But I do find it funny that whole thing reminded me a lot of Chainsaw Man, where they.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I shouldn't give spoilers for Chainsaw Man if you hadn't read it, but there's a similar scene with the president talking about a threat in Japan, and they might react a little bit differently in that scene, but yeah.
This is our first discussion back in a couple weeks. I took a little bit of vacation to Colorado and had a great time, but it also didn't give us the chance to talk about the last chapter, 363, which also had some big stuff happened, including Dabi. And
which, me and Steven have differing opinions on that.
Oh, that's right, that thing. Right.
Yeah, that thing. He's kinda,
that thing that happened.
Kind of just back to the way he was. I guess. Like, I don't know. It's disappointing overall.
Yeah, I side with you on that. I mean, I get that it like sort of highlights the bleakness of the situation, but like Dabi's whole arc was like done. Like, Shoto's arc was done. There's not much more interesting things to come from that fight, in my opinion. Like,
well, I think now we have the chance to actually have Dabi see Endeavor and have that. Like, as I remember, that's been the thing that I've been waiting for. So I mean, that would be. I mean, because I never really cared about Shoto and Dabi, fighting, because I always felt like it was a stepping stone that had to happen, because the actual problem that Dabi always had was with Endeavor, not Dabi. Like,
but like the point of the Shoto Dabi fight was that like, the children also have a stake in this, right? They're Dabi's siblings, and Dabi hates them too. But like they also want to contribute to like finding a way forward and fixing things, right? Which I thought was a very good message, and I don't think that Endeavor really deserved to have that confrontation with Dabi.
Well, that's exactly, because I want to see him suffer more. Like that's the thing. Like he needs to confront Dabi more. Like, because I mean,
no, but I feel like it would be less like for me. I don't think that Endeavor's good enough. Like, I don't think that Endeavor should get the resolution with Dabi, is what I'm saying. I think it would cause him to suffer more if he doesn't get any resolution with Dabi.
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense. It's been something that I've been waiting for a long time, because it's like, I just never, like, I guess it was one of the problems with how the story was written originally, like, before Dabi and, man, I keep on thinking of Dabi from Harry Potter every time I say his name. Like Dabi? Why are we saying Dabi? Oh, yeah, Dabi. So leading up to the fight, there wasn't really anything connecting. Like, I mean, of course, they're brothers and, they went through all this crap together. but it wasn't until their battle together that we really began to explore Dabi's feelings for towards Shoto, and that's when I became more invested in their battle. But it wasn't until the battle actually started, because I just always wanted to have that confrontation between Dabi and Endeavor. I mean, and now like it was when Dabi was thought to have died. It was like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, that's great. I mean, we're not going to get that confrontation we've been waiting for. Endeavor won't have that closure, and he'll just have to deal with that his entire life. But I mean, that I felt like, at least from my perspective, it was like me just trying to deal with the fact that it wasn't going to happen. But now it's like, I don't know, like it was, besides the confrontation between Uraraka and Toga, was the one between Endeavor and Dabi. Because I mean, it all comes down to them. Like Shoto was just an addition to it. Like the big thing was Endeavor had chosen Dabi, and he was going to be the son that would combine all of the his quirk and his wife's quirk, and like he was putting all of his dreams on him. And then Shoto was born, and he just throws Dabi to the wayside and just focuses on Shoto. And because of that, Dabi goes, crazy and stuff. Like all of the intensity falls on Dabi. Like Shoto suffered, sure, but no one suffered more than Dabi, I think, and that's why it's
and that's
so important.
I mean that to me is why I find it more interesting that Shoto and Dabi are fighting it out, because like they both suffered at the hands of Endeavor, and like it's the two sins of the father like resolving themselves, kind of. Like I found that more interesting than like Dabi versus Endeavor, because I feel like we all know how Dabi versus Endeavor would go, right? We've seen what Dabi's had to say about Endeavor. We've seen what Endeavor's had to say about Dabi. Like we've seen their feelings explicitly, not like directly in conflict with each other, but we've seen them very explicitly. So it's like it's less interesting to me than Dabi versus Shoto.
Well, I mean, it definitely would be. I mean, if they don't do anything new, I mean, and they just fight, and Dabi's like, "I'm going to kill you." I mean, that would be a shame.
Yeah.
I just assume that's how it's going to go.
Because the reason, like, you would have that confrontation is to bring something new to the table.
And I feel like Horikoshi doesn't really have something new to bring to that table, because that's been the sort of drama that's been the focus of the manga for the longest time, I think. So
hopefully not. I mean, because at least in the Dabi Shoto fight, I was so not excited for that, and then Horikoshi was throwing all these extra variables that made it exciting. Maybe to have something like that for Endeavor and Dabi, that would be phenomenal. Because I was not expecting to
I could see like the Dabi Endeavor thing like still bearing some sort of good fruit is Endeavor apologizing and like admitting to Dabi's like, no, you're right. I made mistakes. I shouldn't have done those things with you. And it's kind of one of those things I would love to see Dabi's reaction to that. But the interaction I think would be the most exciting and most rich when it comes to Dabi at this point of the story would be if still, and I brought this up a few chapters back when they were still fighting, is if his mom showed up.
Which I don't think is going to happen given it's a war.
Right, that, but also I didn't think String Man would rebuild himself into a heart, so...
But see, the String Man rebuilding himself into a heart is a story convenience that actively makes the story worse. I don't think Horikoshi's going to go the other direction. Well, I've just lost faith in Horikoshi as an author, is what I'm saying.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, I would just, like, going back to that, the whole Bakugo thing, I didn't actually, like, for me, when that happened, I mean, I just rolled my eyes. Like, the thing that bothered me was I just knew that they were going to bring it. I was just like, that's the thing I was saying in the last podcast we did. I'm like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen because
I just wanted them to do it better.
But like, it's like that. That's not what bothered me. It's like it was pretty. Like, oh, it could have been better, but at the same time, it's like you're bringing him back. It doesn't even matter. It's bad. It was just like one of those things. If you're going to bring him back, you could bring him back by him just like someone crying on him, and the tear brings him back to life. Now, at this point, I don't care
I
if you're
don't
going to
need
bring
a
him back.
heart.
Yeah, it's like I read one of your articles that was like My Hero Academia has a chance to avoid One Piece's Gear 5 sort of Luffy revival, which I won't get too much into that for people who haven't read One Piece, but I think that was done a lot better in One Piece, where it actually tied into a broader plot point that actually drove some of the mysteries of the world further. Here, I think it actually worked out worse than One Piece, because like this was just contrivance, like convenient contrivance that doesn't drive anything further. I don't think anyone was really on the edge of their seat to know what would happen to Edgeshot, their favorite hero, and are now torn up completely by Edgeshot's great emotional arc over the course of the series.
Even if it was,
I love that.
Well, yeah. I mean, he started it off by saying Horikoshi has lost all my confidence as a writer.
No, wait, we need to rewind and get what that quote was, because that was amazing. Like in the course of this arc, what we've been like, that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
you need to get back on Twitter, because if you'd done all that you just nailed it.
Yeah, I should tweet that out. Just being like, sorry for all the Edgeshot fans out there. All dozen of you.
Around the world.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that could come with it. What I was thinking, because obviously I don't care about Edgeshot. I don't even remember who he is. Like, to be honest, like you guys are talking about, like
we honestly don't know. He's been there every once in a while, and that's about it.
Like I don't even recognize his name. Like, but like so, I when it happened, I'm like, okay, I could get behind this as it being a cool thing, is if it changes Bakugo somehow. Like if his personality changes, or if, I don't know, just something isn't the same, that would be pretty dope. That's how, like, that was the first thing that I thought when it was happening. Like, oh, okay, that'd be kind of cool if he just completely changes, like he's alive, but at the same time, he's not the same person. That would be pretty awesome.
Well, the way I'm expecting it, especially with how Horikoshi's been doing it, I think he's going to have Edgeshot, parts inside of him. Oh boy, what is that?
What?
I didn't like that sentence.
What inside of him? I missed that.
He's gonna have just his strings, his parts inside of him, which isn't a sentence that.
Edgeshot is entering inside of Bakugo and staying there.
He's coming Pochita.
He's going. He's. Well, I'd love it if it becomes like a Kurama or Sukuna sort of thing, where Bakugo's just consistently got Edgeshot's voice in his head. That'd be pretty funny. But I'm 100% thinking it's going to be like the next time we see Bakugo, he's going to be in his super form again, where he's able to move the explosions in his body, and Edgeshot being inside will help regulate that even more. That's how I'm gonna see. That's how I'm seeing it. Even though it makes no medical sense, Bakugo should be dead, and he should stay dead for the sake of good storytelling. Okay, got it.
See, we don't do that here anymore.
Yeah, we don't do that. we used to be about that, or not? Yeah, that's not us anymore.
Yeah.
It's funny though. Like even in other series, like it just happened, like, and I've had no problems with the series until now, actually, because this happened recently in Blue Exorcist, and it's like, I don't know, I just can't get behind it, like, because like whenever you see a character, and it's probably happening in Black Clover right now. It's like the hero dies and they're gonna come back stronger than ever. I hate that. I I can't stand it.
Well,
And it's just
it's a very shonen thing, but yeah, it just the way they do it, it's all about like how they want to handle tension in the series. Like we were just talking about Dragon Ball. We did a Dragon Ball podcast earlier today, and without spoiling anything, just newer chapters of that series also have a really hard time with like tension for me. As somebody who like I had my 10-year-old over this past weekend and we were watching some Dragon Ball, and it's like end of King Piccolo saga where end of Dragon Ball where like the dragon's dead, like Goku's got three limbs like he can't use, and you're just like, how is he gonna get out of this? Like it just feels so like dreadful, and you're like just have no idea how it's gonna go. But My Hero Academia, whenever it gets close to being like, oh man, this could be pretty intense, then it's just like, oh well, we exist in a world with superpowers where they can just do anything that they need to. Contrivance is just the thing that Ben was saying, just how convenience is the word I was looking for. And it's just it's really unfortunate because there's so many things that could be great in this series, but just I don't know, for almost every great thing that they do one really dumb thing, I feel.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like, you know, you could argue, well, this happens all the time in superhero comics, which is what My Hero Academia is based on. Like there's never any actual real death in comics. Characters will always just come back later. But a lot of the time death in superhero comics is allowed to linger for a time. And like the characters come back like a couple of years later, but there have been interesting consequences of their quote unquote death in the meantime that like makes it so like, okay, yeah, we knew this character wasn't dead, but it was cool while it lasted, right? Here it's like there's like one chapter of like, ooh, wow, things are really getting dark and like grim, and then it's like, but this death has no lasting consequences. So
Yeah.
it's like, why even have it? Like, I feel like it's just gonna be really bad on like reread when you can just read these chapters like straight through, and like Bakugo's dead for like less than 3 chapters,
Right.
and it's like, you know,
Also,
what's the point of this?
it means we're not going to get to see Deku like have to deal with that, and that was something I was really looking forward to.
Yeah,
But
that too.
maybe
Like,
this whole thing will fail. Maybe Ninja Guy Ed Shot will fail. That'd be kind of cool.
I'd be much happier with that. If Edshot does fail, you know, I'd be like, okay, this is fine.
Yeah.
This is fine now.
All right, you've got me back.
Yeah, because like I wasn't happy with how Bakugo died, but I do think him dying is like well, I'm sad about it, of course, but like I do think that it's good for the story, and a very bold move for an author to do. So hats off to him for that. But yeah, if he just I'm worried that he's just bringing back Bakugo because of fan reaction or something as well.
Or it would be cool like if he's able to bring him back for this battle, but then it won't last.
Okay, that would be neat. You know, I would be on board with that. Because I guess Edshot, you know, is a living being. So if he's a living being substituting for his heart, and Edshot says that he's going to die by doing this, then, you know, his heart will die at the end of the fight, and Bakugo will go back to being dead, I guess. But
yeah, it's kind
so
of,
that
I can't handle being inside Bakugo. You're just such a crappy person.
Yeah.
I'd rather just
it's too hot in here.
Yeah.
That's kind of unfortunately. I mean, Horikoshi could do it any way he wants because he's been so vague with it, and I mean, medical science is always so vague when it comes to comics, of course. But it's just at this point he could just, you know, have him do it. No consequences. Edshot has sacrificed himself. All dozen of his fans around the world will mourn, but yeah, I would love it to have some sort of consequence, but my confidence has been shattered in good writing twists and stuff like that with this so far. regarding like character death and stuff like that. Um, kind of switching gears and going to something I do like. I could talk about All for One all day. I love All for One as a villain, even though, and it's something that he just keeps on. Especially in this last chapter, I just he's a broken record. Like he's consistently not learning any lessons, and he keeps on getting hit with big attacks and being surprised. And then like the next chapter, he'll just be like, "Oh boy, I didn't expect Endeavor to do this to me." It's just like Endeavor didn't do that to you. Like half a dozen heroes used perfect teamwork to do that, and he's consistently just all for one. It's only about one person. And the whole idea that he's got a time limit means that he's. I think he's about to like let loose, and I'm really excited about that because that's something that we've been teased for a very long time, just on how terrifying this guy was and his prime, and it just makes it even weirder that Shonen Jump like spoiled this design like a month or two ago. It's so weird. Like for anybody who doesn't know, like the cover page for Shonen Jump like a month or two ago was like a picture of this version of All for One, who we haven't seen yet, fighting Deku, who is also very far away from everything that's going on right now. So it's almost making me think Deku's going to show up where All for One is before he gets to Shigaraki, possibly. We don't know, but we have a good idea of how that's going to go, especially with the design looking so closely to what was shown a month ago. It's just a really odd marketing choice. It baffles me strategic wise, business strategy and all that stuff. But one thing I wanted to bring up that I thought would be really exciting and I think really cool is we haven't seen All Might for a very long time. I think the last time we saw him, he was kind of like in a computer room with, if I remember correctly, UA's principal, the mole guy, who we also have never seen in action. And I almost wonder, what if like they were able to use Erie's power on All Might?
Yeah. That would be interesting. Yeah, have like
really unfortunate though. I would hate that.
Yeah, no, because I don't think All Might actually needs to sacrifice himself here. But that would be very cool seeing like All Might and All for One go at it at their primes basically, but knowing that it's their final fight.
Because I still want that flashback to be able to see that fight that they had that crippled All Might. And All for One, for that matter. And I still feel like we could get that at any point. All for One could be like, "Oh, this reminds me of that one time." And then we get a 3-chapter flashback of one of the biggest fights to ever take place in the series. Please?
Which would be...
Oh, I was just...
No, they're gonna do a Golden Age flashback.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be neat finally getting to see that fight, but like the timing would just be terrible, right? Like it's just, and this is part of my issue with like Dabi's resurrection as well, is like there's so many irons in the fire right now, like so many different plot threads that we want to see develop, like Ochako versus Himiko, right? That's been since the very start of the war arc, that's been teased, and nothing has come of that like this entire time. And like I feel like it's just there's just more and more stuff being added on that like it's just taking away from other things that we want to see.
Yeah, especially with Dabi coming back. It's kind of like, oh man, all right, well, we were done with that fight. Now let's move on to all the other things we need to get to. And now it's just like, nope, we got more Dabi. And we're like, all right.
I don't know. Like, I like that because now it's no longer just like one, because that's what it was following. It's like, we're going to get this fight, then we're going to get this fight, and then we're going to get this fight. And now it's like, that's completely thrown a wrench in that formula, which was... Like, that's how I was viewing it. It's like, okay, we have to get through this fight, and then maybe we'll get to this fight now. But now it's like, it just threw a wrench in it, and I don't know. I like how that was done.
I mean, I get the whole subverting expectations and subverting the formula and stuff is kind of nice, but like at the same time, it's like the formula is kind of good at this part since it's the final arc, right? Like the final war arc where you're wrapping things up,
Yeah, I
right?
feel like it gives it focus.
Yeah, it gives it focus and like we as readers are satisfied with fights being wrapped up and threads being tied up, like to move on to other things because it's like the last arc. So we're not looking forward to things happening more in the future, right? With certain characters, we'd like to see this all wrapped up, but like this is sort of just, I mean, it's subverting that, but like in a way that's unsatisfactory, I think, because we want closure at this stage in the story.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I've just been so like because I've only really cared about because I didn't care about the Shigaraki fight. I don't know why. I think it's because just ever since he started fusing, I just lost interest, and then I never really cared about the All for One fight. I just cared about the Todoroki battle and the Toga battle, and it just felt like just going through the motions. I'm like, hey, good, this one is done. Okay, now we can go to the next one. But now it's like, and before it was like, once that battle's over, it's done. Like it's complete. We're done. We can put that and give it a nice bow and say it's completed. But now it's like, oh crap! It's like everything isn't as like neat as it should be. It's like you defeat one enemy and it's done. No, he's still here. I feel like it's just like it's just so too predictable when we were reading it. It's like, okay.
I think it's like I think it's like a difference between whether you want a good like battle or whether you want a good like conclusion to a character arc, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you want like an intense like final battle arc, right, with like the battle being unpredictable and stuff like that, and I think you're definitely right. But like I'm looking for in this arc good conclusions to character arcs, right? And so I don't really care about the formula being formulaic because when a character arc wraps up, I want it to stay wrapped up because it's like it's the series is ending and I want closure for like plot threads. So I think it's just I don't personally care how good the final battle is in terms of like unpredictability and like who's going to win or not. I just care about the characters.
Well, and I guess it makes sense from your perspective too, because if you're like, if I didn't care about Dabi fighting Endeavor, I'd be kind of pissed right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, since yeah, so I mean, I could see him coming back as like, are you kidding me? Like, no, it was done. Yeah, so I could definitely see it from that point of view, for sure.
Yeah.
It kind of there's a YouTuber I respect a lot, and he puts out fantastic videos. Please check out Totally Not Mark. But he did a great video kind of comparing like the formats of old Dragon Ball versus new Dragon Ball, and he kind of helped me realize one thing that I love about shonen, especially older shonen, was that a lot of them would interweave storytelling into the combat. So like as an example, say in old school Dragon Ball, when Goku is like in a tournament against like Master Roshi, like they're consistently like doing attacks towards each other that is informing you of how each of them stands against one another, and they surprise each other and they stop each other when things get out of hand, and it's a way of like conveying that relationship and evolving that relationship while a fight is happening. And that's something that doesn't really happen anymore, and especially like Dragon Ball Super.
Well, funnily enough, I think that sort of storytelling did actually happen in the Dabi versus Shoto fight.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
Which
kind of what I was getting to, is like it's one of those things where, you know, we feel like everything has been said, especially in that fight, where it's at least everything we wanted. Like it feels like we could put a bow on that. So I mean, who knows? Maybe Horikoshi's got something else bigger and better planned that we're not expecting. Hopefully it's a pleasant surprise and not another edge shot surprise.
Yeah, I would just say if they brought Dabi back so that Shoto and Dabi can fight again, I would absolutely hate that. Just because, like, again, like, because that's, I mean, like you're saying, that story is done. Like, we don't need a rematch of that. Yeah, so I definitely agree. But I just need that confrontation between Endeavor and Dabi. I need it. I need it. I need it.
It's interesting because like Endeavor's fight himself is like Endeavor seems the way he's fighting All for One seems very much like this is like my last fight in a way,
Yes.
right? Like he's going all out
And
in
they
a
did
similar
a
way.
sorry.
Yeah, you're right. They did do a great job. Like, and I feel like that sort of the way that he's fighting this fight makes it seem like he won't be fighting Dabi, given how it's going. But
Well, because because one thing, because I know I wrote about it too, how much more Endeavor was suffering hearing about Dabi and Shoto without actually getting to see them. Like, that was, like, at the time when I was writing it, I was like, that is almost as satisfactory. Like, I'm almost as satisfied seeing him struggle that much as if he were actually fighting him in person. Because I remember, because it was when he was fighting All for One, and then there was that, they sent the message out saying that Shoto has won, and that's all they said. And it's like, Endeavor's like, well, what does that mean? Like, it's like that. Is my son dead? Is my other son like?
Is my firstborn dead?
Yeah, like it was like one of those things where like it was very well done. Where just like, and I wasn't expecting that. Like, I wasn't thinking that anything that could happen during Endeavor's battle with All for One, that they could cover Endeavor's relationship with Dabi, and they did do it. So like, yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, they were wrapping up their story even when they weren't together.
One thing I want to bring up too about the Dabi thing is the last time we saw, after he had been defeated, and there's some theories going around that he was healing, but we saw that little bright thing in his chest. Kind of gave us the idea that possibly he did get an extra quirk or something like that from All for One, but I think that was just him doing the thing that he was talking about in that last chapter we were talking about, where he was trying something that he learned from Shoto, and it like de-thawed him from that. So I think we can move away from the theory that Dabi has another quirk or something like that. He's just very prepared, and I guess he's able to de-thaw himself from an Ice Age attack of that caliber. So almost making me think Ice isn't going to work against this guy.
So I'll just say one more thing, and then I gotta jump off. Just really quick, I'm changing subject really quick. And I don't know if I'm reading into it too much, but I thought it was interesting when All for One mentions that he is going to, pass the baton to Shigaraki, and so taking that into perspective, and then the fact, how he's always planning ahead. I think it's, if you look at that, if All for One knew all of this, so he knew that he could use Ares' rewind on himself, meaning that he would be out of existence. So if he knew that, did he plan that? Is that the reason why he began fusing with Shigaraki? Because he's saying he wants to pass the baton to Shigaraki, but the reason why he fused with him, like he was trying, his original intent was to take over Shigaraki, like he would become All for One
or something.
Yeah, so it's like he's saying I was passing the baton to Shigaraki, but in reality, it seems like he didn't trust Shigaraki enough to pass the baton to him. So he's like, if I'm going to die and use this rewind quirk on myself, I'm going to make it so I will live on in Shigaraki, so then I won't have to, make Shigaraki my successor. I mean, I might be reading it too much, but I thought that was really...
No, I think that definitely makes sense. And it's something where, like, I wish I knew the original Japanese to, like, read into it more.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I gotta go, but this was a fun conversation.
Yeah. So thanks, Steven. Check out Steven Blackburn on Screen Rant. He writes in the comics section a lot of great My Hero Academia stuff and some other works that are definitely worth checking out. So check out Steven on Screen Rant. Yeah, Ben, any other thoughts on My Hero Academia before?
Yeah, no, I think we covered it to my satisfaction. Like, I can't really. I mean, I could rant about this stuff for a much longer time, but I feel like I'd be covering the same points that we talked about. So,
Well, I actually really enjoyed the dynamic, but your back and forth with Steven because you guys were definitely able to express it better than I would have on this particular series. But yeah, I don't know.
I do enjoy that me and Steven disagree on so many things because it makes for more interesting conversations. So.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely appreciate it, man. It's one of those things where I'm thinking back to our previous My Hero Academia podcast, and there's definitely been some good chapters in this last arc so far, and I feel like there's been, for almost every 2 chapters, there's one where we're like, oh man, that was a great chapter, I'm excited to talk about that. And then there's been a lot of other chapters since we started this podcast where we're just like, man, this could have been so much better. And that's definitely this one.
Yeah.
And we'll see if it's really as bad as we anticipate. I think it is, because it just, as we knew Bakugo was going to get brought back to life, we didn't want him to be brought back to life for good storytelling purpose. But I wish that they could have, it could have been like Deku's other power, but maybe Deku's not going to get to this fight for a long time, so that wasn't going to work out. It's just I brought it up, and I think I'll end the podcast on this, but it's just, it could have been so much better if we just didn't have so many characters. Like, I just feel, we feel like if Edshot didn't exist, and if we had spent more time with just Best Jeanist and building the dynamic between Best Jeanist and Bakugo, and then if Jeanist was the one to sacrifice himself, it would have been emotional, and it would have been fitting, and it would have been, it would have been a good chapter. But nope, that's not what we got today. So hopefully
I feel. Yeah, I hope Horikoshi learns from all this in his next manga. Yeah, I hope he makes it more focused.
Yeah, for sure. Well, man, yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode of Mega Manga Monday for My Hero Academia 364. I don't think series is on break next week, so we'll most likely be talking about it next time, and I look forward to that. But moving into plugs and recommendations, man. My name is Jason Hahn. I'm a writer on ScreenRant.com. Please check my stuff out in the gaming section. I also have a YouTube series called Honzy and Friends. Just finished playing the newest God of War on PlayStation 5. Well, I beat the main story yesterday. We still have some extras that we're probably going to dive into. I like to stream on Sundays and Wednesdays. So next Wednesday stream, we should be doing some of the Valkyrie battles and freeing some dragons and, God of War stuff. So it'll be fun. But also check out other episodes of Mega Manga Monday. We talk about series like One Piece, Chainsaw Man, Berserk. We even talk a little Jujutsu Kaisen every once in a while. But follow us on Twitter at @MMangaMondays. And I you know what, I don't usually recommend stuff because I feel like I spend too much time on my own plugs, but I do want to recommend the new Sandman on Netflix. Me and my wife ran through the first season very quickly. We couldn't stop. It's fantastic lighting, great writing. Even the guy who did the original comic, Neil Gaiman, is a major part of that show's creation. So they did it justice, according to some other people on the internet that I haven't read the original comic. I really want to now, but it was a fantastic series and I highly recommend it. But Ben, how about you, man?
Yeah. Well, for my recommendation first, a very different thing than Sandman, but I watched the movie Bullet Train this weekend with Brad Pitt, and it was a very very fun movie, very very fun action movie, and it was great to see it because it wasn't really tied to any existing franchises or anything, and it was just a blast. So I hope they make more movies like it in the future. But definitely check it out if you're interested. Uh, and for plugs, I have my own YouTube channel called YGO from Zero, where I discuss historical formats of the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. And yeah, so if that sounds up your alley, definitely check it out.
Absolutely. Well, I'll have information on those plugs and recommendations in the description, so definitely check those out. But that'll do it for this episode of Mega Manga Monday. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your time today, Ben. It's great hearing
Yeah,
from you.
no problem. Yeah, no, I always enjoy our discussions. So yeah,
Well, good.
pleasure's all mine.
Good. I guess we'll have to do it again.